but that he was then sending these emails to Epstein saying, oh, don't worry, we can soon go out. And I think the phrase is play again. I mean, it's really disgraceful. So King Charles has obviously got in front of this.
Hey everyone, I'm with Vicky Ward, or her frozen face. Hopefully she comes back right when we're about to go live. It's a conspiracy, C-O-N-spiracy, that her internet froze up. I'm going to invite her one more time. Vicky Ward, for those who don't know, has been investigating Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein for 2 decades. Specifically, she's the one who wrote the Vanity Fair piece. She's back. She's the one who wrote a Vanity Fair piece where she got the farmer sister. I'm talking about you behind your back,
Yes,
Vicky, but all good
it's
stuff.
quite all right, Waj.
Vicky wrote the piece for Vanity Fair that actually exposed Jeffrey Epstein, and the Farmer sisters came out and said that he molested them, but at the last second, due to threats, all of that was scrubbed from her profile. Vicky was pregnant at the time. She was threatened by Epstein. She also spent time in the courtroom following Ghislaine Maxwell, her entire trial. There's an audio investigation book that Vicky has published. I believe it's on Amazon. Is that right? Vicky, no, she keeps freezing. It's on Amazon.
Okay, no, I'm here.
Chasing Ghislaine, Ghislaine. And then also she's the author of the best-selling The Idaho 4, an American tragedy that came out a couple of months ago. It's a nonfiction story that really tracks a terrible tragedy of young white men who are radicalized online and also have deep misogyny. And she just told me she has a book on Luigi Mangione coming up. When is that coming up?
Ugh.
I can see you, Vicky. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can. I don't know what.
We could see you. So you might not be able to see us, but we can see you. Oh, great. And yes, everyone, I wore this jacket because Vicky always looks so nice. And I said, Vicky, you have to tolerate looking at me like a broken middle-aged man who drives a minivan. So no, I got to go to New York today for a talk. So I'm going to talk to Vicky, get on an Uber and go straight to Union Station, that hellhole, Vicky. That hellhole with Lululemon and Jamba Juice, that Union Station, and then get to New York. But we're here today because Virginia Giuffre's memoir is today's publication day, and Vicky has been following this, and I believe it's a big deal. And folks, before I give it to Vicky, it's such a big deal that the excerpt from Virginia Giuffre's memoir came out last week, and Prince Andrew relinquished his titles. Now, if you're not British, that's a big deal because Virginia Giuffre, when she was a teenager, she said that she got groomed, poached by Ghislaine Maxwell. She was passed around like a platter of fruit, her words, by Epstein. And she's the one that said Prince Andrew molested me. And she also, according to the book, which I haven't read yet, it came out today, she also allegedly said that Ehud Barak molested her and beat her as well. And I believe this book coming out at this time while the government is shut down and all this evidence is coming out, Vicky, about the Epstein files and how I don't think he can escape the Epstein files, Donald Trump. But with all that as a setup, I give it to you, Vicky, wherever you want to start.
Wow. Where to begin? So I don't think she's named Ehud Barak. And the reason I say that is I haven't completely finished it. She talks about a prime minister, Watch.
Oh, God, thank you.
There's only one prime minister who she's terrified of all the people. I mean, I will say this, that the book is really hard to read. The title is really apt. Virginia Giuffre really was nobody's girl. And I met her. Well, I interviewed her when I was at CNN. I'm trying to remember if it was 2019, 2020, around then. And, she was so articulate, and she's a very good writer, by the way. I mean, that really comes through. She says that, right at the beginning, when she was at this sort of terrible kind of home for troubled teens, that she ran away.
Vicky, you froze up on us right after ran away. No, Vicky. Oh, there you go. So, Vicky, you froze up after you said she ran away. That home.
So she ran away from this home, but the title is so apt. And but she doesn't, but the prime minister of all the men she's abused by, she just calls him the prime minister. There's a billionaire number one, who I have a pretty good guess who that is. Billionaire number two, I'm not so sure about. And obviously she talks about Prince Andrew, which we'll get to in a minute. I mean, I think that Prince Andrew has come to the end of any grace that he might have had in England. I mean, people are absolutely fed up with him because it's emerged, even and not even in the pages of this book, but it's emerged that he tried to sort of get people around the police.
Vicky's freezing up, but for those who are joining us, I'll fill in the dots. Is that Prince Andrew? What Vicky
He lied.
Vicky, you keep freezing up every 30 seconds. I was just trying to fill in the blank about the story about Prince Andrew, what just got released.
He lied. It's emerged that he lied about not having contact. That we know that he, when he said that he said on that disastrous BBC interview that he came to New York just to say goodbye to Epstein because he thought it was the right thing to do after Epstein was a convicted sex offender. And but it's now emerged that in fact, not only did he not come to New York to say goodbye to Jeffrey Epstein and have a dinner party thrown in his honor, but that he was then sending these emails to Epstein saying, "Oh, don't worry, we can soon go out." And I think the phrase is "play again." I mean, it's really disgraceful. So King Charles has obviously got in front of this, and Prince Andrew has relinquished his titles, but he's still a prince. And it's just emerged today, I think, in the British newspapers, that he also hasn't been paying rent in his sort of grace and favor home that he lives in. So I think, this is really rightly the nail in Prince Andrew's coffin. I will say, Waj, I hoped that there would be more names named in the memoir. I don't think there is that. And I don't think anyone who's looking for or hoping for dirt.
Vicky's phone hates us, but Vicky will persist. We will wait. Yeah,
I'm here. I don't know what's going on. What I think she really does so well is paint a picture of what it's like to be a victim of someone so much older and so brilliantly manipulative, because she actually has very conflicted feelings about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And at one point she says that
no, Vicky, they're trying to shut Vicky down, but Vicky will persist. You said they have very conflicted. You keep freezing up, but you said she has very conflicted feelings about Epstein and Maxwell, and at one point, and then you froze up.
Yeah, because this Virginia Giuffre was a perfect victim for them, because she was used to being sexually abused. Beginning, she says, with her father. He has strenuously denied that. But this is someone who has been abused most of her life before she even started to menstruate. So she doesn't trust anyone. She's able, as she describes it, when she has to do these terrible things, she's able to sort of leave her body and compartmentalize. And so what she gets from Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell that she really responds positively to is the fact that they're almost like parents to her. That for the first time in her life, she's found a family. And there's something that, and he even asks her to call her daddy at one point during sex, but that, which she has difficulty with. But, there are times when she describes just walking down the beach with Ghislaine Maxwell, where she says, she almost felt like Ghislaine Maxwell was the mother figure in her life she really had never had. And I think it's what it does very, very evocatively and sadly is paint a picture that answers a question why people asked Virginia and ask a lot of Epstein survivors, which is, why did you keep going back? Because it's complicated, right? And it isn't just about money. And it is, and Virginia, talks about the fact that on one level, she was very proud to be for a while the number one. Epstein said to her, "You're my number one." And because there were so many girls coming and going, there was a sort of sense of competition that she talks about it. And she liked being the favorite. And she talks about the fact that when she left to go to Thailand, yes, she wanted to break free, but she also was getting worried that she was getting old. She turned 18, so old. And he'd brought in this new victim, Nadia, Virginia. He asked Virginia to sort of train her. And she was, so it's complicated. Part of it was she was worried she was losing her place. I mean, all of these things just come across as so authentic in a horrific way. That, I will, it's hard to forget a single word on the pages of this book. Really.
It's so sad. It's so disgusting how she was groomed. The Stockholm syndrome of it all, how being a victim gave her that identity, and how Epstein and Maxwell abused it. And I just want to remind people that for those who don't know, Virginia Giuffre's father worked at Mar-a-Lago. That's where she got her job as a teenager. She was a spa attendant. Ghislaine Maxwell saw her read a book. She approached her, said, "Hey, Epstein can help you become a masseuse." She went over to the Epsteins. Then, as her words were, she was passed around like a platter of fruit to these powerful men. She died earlier this year in an alleged suicide. Donald Trump, when asked about her, he said, "Epstein stole property from me." The property that he was referring to was Virginia Giuffre. And Virginia Giuffre has been saying it for years. She was the first high-profile survivor who pointed to Prince Andrew. And Vicky, when the excerpt came out last week, and I saw Prince Andrew of his title being stripped. Again, for those who are not in the UK, that's a big deal. A part of me was thinking to myself, we all knew this, Vicky. You knew this. How come it took this long? It's not like Virginia Giuffre, was just sitting there quietly. She mentioned this for a while. We know the sweetheart deal. We know these billionaires. We know Leslie Wexner gave his townhouse for free. We know Leon Black, for some strange reason, gave millions of dollars to Jeffrey Epstein. And I'm sure you saw that New York Times article that just came out.
I totally did, Waj, and I thought that raised more questions than it answered, because there's clearly much more to that story. I mean, why on earth does Leon Black, one of the wealthiest men in the United States, respond to a really ugly, threatening email from Jeffrey Epstein calling his children, quote unquote, I hate to even say retards. I mean,
Yep.
Leon Black is a proud, believe it or not, family man. And so for his response to be to an email like that, to actually cave to Jeffrey Epstein's demands and pay him tens of millions of dollars, is really head scratching. I thought there was a word that Jeffrey Epstein used to Leon Black. He'd said that are you there?
Yeah, I got you.
I don't want to lose this.
No, we hear you. You're good. And right after you said, "Are you there?" you froze up. But it's okay. We're going to get through it. For those, okay, there you go. Oh, you're back.
I don't know what is going on.
Okay.
So Jeffrey Epstein used the word safe to Leon Black. He said, "You're financially safe," which I thought was a very strange choice of word. and I've been wondering what that means, because there's an implication there that there's some danger. Anyway, I can't believe we've had the last of that, Ward.
And also, they never used the word. I think New York Times could have gone deeper. It was a good primer for those who don't know, but they didn't use the word blackmail, because I read those exchanges between Jeffrey Epstein, folks, a college dropout who was paid millions of dollars by Leon Black, a private equity investor worth $13 billion. Leon Black decided to give millions of dollars to this man, not other experts, but to this man, Jeffrey Epstein, who berates him repeatedly and keeps essentially pushing him for more money. And it seemed clear to me, Vicky, just the relationship was like a blackmail type relationship. That's what I got out of it, even though that's not the term that New York Times used. What do you think is there? Because not just Leon Black, there are other people who I would say, allegedly, it seems that he had this control over powerful people who, for some strange reason, didn't take the advice of highly qualified individuals for a fraction of the cost, but decided to just pump millions of dollars to Jeffrey Epstein, another one being Leslie Wexner.
Mm. So again, there is in the Giuffre memoir, she definitely talks about the fact that Jeffrey showed her these cameras all over his house, and she saw all these videotapes. But he never explicitly, she has a question mark about this herself. She does remember Jeffrey Epstein saying, it's always good to have stuff on someone. And in fact, what he even had that frightened Virginia Giuffre and kept her there was somebody was filming her brother at one point, and he showed her. So in other words, he used that as a sort of blackmail technique with her. I'm curious about, I wonder about blackmail with a lot of these guys. I think for Leon Black to pay $170 million for women doesn't tell that it doesn't make sense for it just to be, that would be a tremendous number of women. I think, my gut tells me that that Jeffrey Epstein, there's something there that has to do with money. And Les Wexner remains this extraordinary mystery. There is a several cryptic lines in Virginia's book. One of which, where she talks about the fact that many of the men who Jeffrey pimped her out to were men who clearly never normally had sex or didn't know how to have sex. A lot of them were academics. And one man, she says, had sex with her while looking and stroking Epstein. It's really mind-boggling. There's a lot in here that people aren't talking about that perhaps should be, because there's a lot of detail in here that I think we're supposed to read between the lines.
And I think she gives a roadmap based on just what you've said and based on the excerpts. I'll pick it up today, the book. But this is, Vicky, it goes back to a point I made. This is what's infuriating is nothing is new here. That New York Times expose, if you will, on Leon Black or whatever. We've known about this for a while. And then Miami Herald, Julie Brown's done fantastic work. She came out with a piece over the weekend. I'm sure you saw that one of the prosecuting attorneys, I believe his name was Menschel, after the fact was partying with Epstein, after the sweetheart deal was seen, after this Florida prosecuting attorney, after the sweetheart deal, folks, which was led by Alex Acosta, who later became a labor secretary for Donald Trump. Jeffrey Epstein, they had him dead to rights. They didn't inform the survivors about this plea deal. This plea deal allowed him to essentially stay out of jail. What was it? 6 out of 7 days a week, Vicky? And then what we found out was, as he was out of jail for 6 out of 7 days a week, he kept raping girls. And then after the fact, and after he was a registered sex offender, these people still partied with him. All these people still partied with him.
Yeah.
And one of the prosecuting attorney, Menschel, was partying with him after the plea deal. Like, how do you explain this, Vicky?
Well, this is why was Jeffrey Epstein was so clever. He understood how power actually works. And he understood that people like this prosecuting attorney, they want to be in the plutocratic circle. I mean, this is why was somebody like Bill Gates even in Jeffrey Epstein's house? Because Jeffrey Epstein understood that once you have enough money, if you're clever about it, and once you know enough people, you can introduce people to other people, that this is how the world works. Whether you're introducing top level Israeli officials to Gulf state officials, to American officials, doing a little bit of international power broking and sort of, call it espionage. Whether you're introducing Bill Gates to high level bankers, whether you're introducing high-level bankers to British royalty or to people they think can help them. I mean, this is how power works, kind of in the shadows, and Epstein understood that. Have I frozen again?
No, you're good.
I'm good. Like, I can see you. You're moving.
Yeah, I was talking to my wife. I said, "Hey, Sarah, close the door," and so that was me.
That's okay. So anyway, but I do recommend everyone to read Virginia's book. It's difficult, and it's what this doesn't have. It has it sort of, you have to read between the lines. It doesn't name names, and I'm somewhat surprised. On the other hand, not really, because a book like this will have been vetted super carefully. We know that the people around this story are very rich, and therefore they're very litigious, and so the publisher will have been very careful.
I think there's enough there, and you've studied for 20 years. I've talked to you and a few other people. I think the money trail, I think the logs, I think the Epstein files, I think there's enough breadcrumbs there, Vicky, that people who want to go, follow up and aren't intimidated, can do the work. And of course, that the Epstein files are there. We heard from Wall Street Journal, that flaming leftist rag run by Muslim Islamist anti-fascists, that Pam Bondi told Donald Trump way back in May. He's all up in the files. We found out from the Wall Street Journal about the notebook, and lo and behold, we got the copy of the disgusting notebook with the disgusting photos, where everyone, folks, was making jokes about Epstein grooming girls in his 50th birthday book, which meant that everyone knew. Donald Trump sent that lewd message. And then last week, I'm sure you've been keeping up with all these breaking news. There was two newses, one by CBS, where they released 90 photos of Epstein's cell where he allegedly killed himself, and they said it was just complete forensic malpractice of like an epic order. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but once I saw that, I'm like, all right, you got me intrigued. And then they had the other. Well, let's talk about that one first. Your take on that CBS reported with those 90 photos.
It's frozen.
No, that we could hear you. That there was a mistake with evidence markers. Things were misplaced. The two guards were not properly interviewed for 2 years. When you heard that, were you like, yeah, that tracks, or were you shocked?
Well, shocked and not, because nothing in this story, right, is normal. So the fact that he died the way he lived, in a blaze of mystery and uncertainty, he'd probably be laughing at the fact that we're all still discussing him. I mean, he was, I mean, he's still in a weird way in control of his awful narrative. I mean, the fact he died like that, it gave him the ultimate control of the story of his life, with the rest of us not having any answers. So I wish I could tell you that, I'm shocked. At this point, there's nothing about Jeffrey Epstein that shocks me. Including the question, the bizarre manner of his death. I mean, I go back and forth on what happened there. What I'm very certain happened is that money changed hands. It wasn't just coincidence that the guards weren't watching, the cameras were turned off. There's missing tape. Doesn't all happen all at once by chance.
Especially the most high profile inmate in modern history, where they're literally, the guards were tasked with one thing. You had one job: make sure this guy doesn't kill himself. And then both of them just magically at the same time, looked away, and then they weren't interviewed for 2 years. I mean, it's remarkable, especially when you say that Virginia Giuffre, in her book, which came out today, points to a prime minister, and she said this prime minister allegedly, that was me just speculating. I want to
Oh
clarify.
gosh.
I want to say allegedly. I would say I thought it was Ehud Barak. We don't know. Thank you, Vicky, for clarifying that she doesn't name him. But she said a prime minister of a country violently beat her and molested her. Vicky says there's at least two billionaires named. A billionaire one, billionaire two. You mentioned this, Vicky, for the 1,600 people joining us. Your guess about one of.
Stop.
No, we can hear you. You're good. We can see you. Your guess about the first billionaire. We'll get Vicky back. Now I'm just used to it. All right.
Yeah. What did you say? What did you say?
Yeah, your guess about the billionaire. You said there were two billionaires and a prime minister named in Virginia's book, and you said I have a good guess about one of them. Again, this is just speculation.
Well, I do because it ties up with things that have been in other court papers. She talks about the fact there was a couple and there was a wife. She was asked to go. They were staying in a condo in Florida, and the wife was pregnant, and she massaged the wife first, and then she went on to massage the husband, and she thought initially, well, maybe this is not going to be a sexual massage, but it turned out to be that way. That, there aren't that many people. I guess I should be careful. I mean, there's a reason the publishers haven't mentioned it, but there weren't that many couples who Jeffrey Epstein hung out with. And so by deduction, when you think about the couples and where the wife would have wanted a massage, there's no suggestion, by the way, that the wife knew what was going on with her husband. I mean, I have read this story before in court papers, and I believe she's referring to, now she's alleged this, he's denied it. I mean, well, I think we can say, because I think she's alleged before Glenn Dubin, the hedge fund manager, whose wife, Ava Dubin, had been Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, and who was Jeffrey Epstein was godfather to their child. Now, the Dubins have always vehemently refuted all of this. Ava Dubin testified at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, also saying she had amnesia. She's got on beginnings of early dementia. So, but that's who I think Virginia would have been not naming. Billionaire number two, I'm slightly confused by. I don't know who that is. That's on the island.
Vicky froze up.
You hear me now?
You said billionaire number two. You're a little confused by.
I don't know. I will tell you that the story. There are two incidents with the prime minister. And the second one is so the first one is awful, where he's violent and choking her, and she's really terrified. And she goes to see Epstein afterwards and says that was horrendous. And Epstein, and Epstein sort of shrugs it off and said, well, you'll get that sometimes. But then, to her absolute dismay, he phones her up and he says, I need you. She isn't told who's on the plane, but she has to get on. She's with her then boyfriend. She goes to the airport. Her job is to get on the plane for an hour. The plane doesn't go anywhere. She then comes off the plane. And she gets on the plane and she finds the prime minister on the plane. And she said this time he wasn't as rough, but her terror was so great it almost made no difference.
This is also this is so infuriating. And folks, for Glenn Dubin in 2019, Vanity Fair had a piece for billionaire Glenn Dubin. The Epstein saga isn't over. This is kind of it's all this is what we know. They knew Epstein. That's nothing new. And also Dubin and his wife, also billionaires, philanthropists, and of course gave $27,000 to Andrew Cuomo because of course. And then also when it comes to Leon Black. Just the way the power works and what Vicky's talking about, hours after Congress released Leon Black's note in Epstein's birthday book, MoMA welcomed him to a swank bash. That was last month. So this is the incestuous circle, right? These are all just speculation, but not the speculation of relationships. That's what we knew. These people knew each other. That's a fact. These people engaged with each other. That's a fact. These people were friendly with each other. That's a fact. And the person who was the most friendly, who was his close friend, who Jeffrey Epstein said was my closest friend for 10 years. That person is the president of the United States of America, Vicky. And right now, that person, Donald Trump, I don't know if you heard him last week, and this is my speculation. I think he's going to do this, Vicky. I think he's going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. And the reason why I say this is last week, when Donald Trump was asked, are you open to pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell? He said, "Who? Huh? Haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I could do it, didn't I?" He goes, "I guess I could do it, right?" And then the fact that he said, "I guess I could do it," the fact that reports have come out that she has high-profile unnamed visitors at her minimum security camp. The Wall Street Journal released that last week.
Yeah.
The fact that other inmates are very upset about the special treatment that she's getting. The fact that she has these. That's me. The fact that he didn't rule out pardoning her, the fact that we still don't know why she got this transfer to a minimum security camp. You've written this, well, you've done this audiobook called Chasing Ghislaine, and you spent a lot of time researching her. We've talked about her before. Your take on the Ghislaine Maxwell of it all.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, there again, you talked about breadcrumbs. I think it's a really good way of putting it. There is a fascinating breadcrumb. And again, I haven't finished yet this whole book, but Virginia talks about how she and Epstein, there's a drawing that Maxwell has done of scene going on nearby. And Epstein says to Virginia,
"You froze up. You froze up when you said you froze up right when you said there's a drawing that Maxwell had."
So Ghislaine Maxwell made an artwork of her family sitting on a bench with a fox hunting scene nearby. And Epstein said to Virginia, "Oh, that's Ghislaine's drawn a picture of her family, depicting them in a way, as they would, for the bits that they would like to be remembered for, as opposed to, the disgrace that they're now actually known for."
Yeah, Steph's like the Trump administration.
I thought that was.
You froze up again right after you said what for the horrors they would like to be remembered for, and then you froze up. And then Steph says the Trump administration is messing up Vicky's Wi-Fi. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I agree. It's a conspiracy. You froze up. Yeah, you froze up right when you were saying she would. This is how she would like to be remembered for, instead of what
she would like. This sort of posh British family, we're very wealthy members of the upper classes. That's how she wishes the Maxwells, Robert Maxwell, her father, and all the 9 children would be remembered, and what they want at one point were. But that's obviously before her father died. And it was known that he was a crook. He'd stolen, tremendous amount of money from his own pension holders, and Ghislaine came to live in New York, was, penniless or much in circumstances very different from the ones she'd grown up in, and with her family really tarnished. So I thought that was interesting, only because, we've talked about this before. In no way is she remotely an Epstein victim. I mean, she was 30 years old when she met Giuffre Epstein, and then she went out and groomed these young girls who, like Virginia Roberts, were just really not in a position to say no for so many reasons that Virginia points out. Ghislaine Maxwell, you cannot compare her situation to that. But I think that she was, there's a tragedy to the fact that she turned to evil, because this was a well-educated woman who had, an extraordinary Rolodex. And the fact that she didn't have the self-confidence and go and make it on her own, and that she felt she needed.
That she needed a Jeffrey Epstein. Vicky froze up again, but Vicky and I have talked about Ghislaine Maxwell, and I'm gonna try to, when I post this Substack up later, I'm gonna, you froze up, but I said, I was just filling in the blanks of how you've joined me a couple of times before, Vicky, and we did a huge deep dive on Ghislaine Maxwell because Vicky's been following her for 2 decades. She was in the courtroom. She's released this audio investigation book called Chasing Ghislaine, where you really did a deep dive into this, where she wasn't a victim, she was complicit. And some of these survivors have said that she, along with Jeffrey, also, in addition to grooming, also molested these girls. But, she had these daddy issues, deep insecurity, and she found this comfort and security with Jeffrey Epstein of all people, and then it became this kind of symbiotic relationship where he was this dullard, according to Vicky. She was a sophisticated, elite, kind of well-traveled global individual who had this Rolodex of the world's most powerful people, and then through her, he got access to these millionaires and billionaires and sophisticated individuals. But it is interesting, Vicky, that your take on this, because we can only speculate. I If I have the goods, and I think Ghislaine Maxwell does have the goods, as proven by the Wall Street Journal book, why would she spend the rest of her life in prison?
I didn't. Well, unfortunately, Waj, I missed the. I mean, why would she spend her rest of her life in prison? You mean why do you think, why will Trump pardon her?
I mean, if I'm Ghislaine Maxwell and I have the goods, and I believe she does, why would I just sit there and be like, I'll just spend the rest of my life in prison when I just saw Donald Trump pardon George Santos and 1,600 violent insurrectionists, and I know that this is his Achilles heel, and he's absolutely terrified of it. And I think the word I've used is based on the reporting we've seen, has engaged in a massive cover up. I think this is a massive cover up of the Trump administration, where they could release the Epstein files and they've chosen not to. And I'm sure you're following U.S. politics right now, where Adelita Grijalva won in Arizona. She has the 218th vote.
Yeah.
She's been waiting for 3.5 weeks. She goes, swear me in. And Mike Johnson, literally, there's nothing on the docket for the entire month of October. The House will literally, they'll shut down the government, then swear in Adelita Grijalva, who has promised to give the 218th vote. That's why I say it, Vicky. That if I was her, I've said this before, if I was her, I would be like, yeah, you better pardon me because I got the goods. But you know her better than I do.
Well, I don't know that. I mean, look, I wondered why back before she went to jail.
No, it's a conspiracy. Each time Vicky says something, they'd stop her. Them. It's all right. Thank you for the 1,900 people
The
who are.
first time.
So Vicky, you froze up again. Right when you were about to speak, you froze up. But it's okay. We got 1,900 people here. We're waiting on every single one of your words with bated breath.
Well, so what I was going to say is, I never understood why she didn't use any leverage at all. It would seem at the beginning, why did she go through a whole trial? Why did she go to jail in the first place? Was there not something that she could have said then? There wasn't, again, I think none of us believed every word that we heard her tell Todd Blanche. There was an awful lot of garbage, self-serving garbage in that. But you'll notice there were no names given to Todd Blanche. In that, I've also said, Waj, that, I think there's been an awful lot of private litigation that's gone on. We know that Jeffrey Epstein offered to pay legal fees of guys whose names were made public by Virginia Roberts, and that, you know, that's what he liked to do. We know this because Alan Dershowitz says says on the record Epstein wanted to pay his legal fees and settle it, and Dershowitz said no, I want to clear my name myself. So I do think there's been there've been an awful lot of civil suits. And so, you know, again, and we don't, you know, so to some degree, it depends on the appetite of the Epstein victims as to, do they want to point fingers? I do wonder at this point if Ghislaine Maxwell's still got real leverage. Somebody, when I made Chasing Ghislaine, a former Israeli spy, says on the record that the thing about information in the espionage world is that with every day that it loses its value with time. That there's important to remember that. And whether or not, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell may know stuff about people who are now dead. One wonders. There are certainly people in Virginia Giuffre's book that she alludes to, not by name, who are dead. I'm thinking of a senator who she named at the time and who refuted it, was Bill Richardson. He's now governor of New Mexico. He's now passed away. So I do wonder. I will say this, Ward. I would not be shocked if Trump pardons Ghislaine and at the last minute of his presidency. But I think Trump knows. I mean, the one thing he is very good at is playing the media, and he knows how badly this would play. And I think the other thing about Trump is he's not in the business. The person he is most interested in protecting is himself.
Yep.
I mean, you know, really. And so if he was going to stick his neck out for somebody, I can't think of. I mean, he's going to protect numero uno. And I don't see a scenario that Trump is going to stick his neck out to save one of the rich men we've been talking about. I don't think that's who he is, and I think he won't want to pardon anyone where a pardon overshadows his presidency. I think it's complicated. And obviously, what she would do is do a runner straight out of the United States to Europe or England. I don't know. I think,
as Vicky froze up, and I'll tell you all, and she'll come back. I believe that exactly what Vicky said, that Donald Trump will protect himself. I don't think he cares about anybody else, and that's why. Sorry, you froze up, and I was just filling in the dots. I was just saying, Vicky, that I agree with you completely. Donald Trump is now, I would say, a New York City sewer rat who's cornered. No disrespect to New York City sewer rats. He will chew through anything and everyone to stay alive. The one Achilles cankle, the thing that he can't escape, the thing that can bring him down, is the Epstein files. Over 80% of Americans across political affiliation want the release of the Epstein files. He has radicalized his own base for the past 10 years about the deep state and the Epstein files. The fact that Ghislaine Maxwell got sent to a minimum security camp, the fact that no one has explained why she got the sweetheart deal, the fact that Todd Blanche, his personal attorney, went and spoke to her for 2 days and then less than a week later she was there, the fact the Wall Street Journal said that she's getting high-profile treatment, the fact that she had that notebook. I agree with you, but my take on this is, especially last week when asked about it directly, he's open to it, is to protect himself. Even though it would look bad, he might pardon her if she can get absconded away to Europe, because what she might have, or the even threat of what could be released, is so bad that he's like, all right, I'll take this small hit over the actual release of the files. Because I feel like, folks, we're talking about the world's most powerful men. Prince Andrew's, for the 2,000 people joining us, Virginia Giuffre's book, the excerpts, finally, pardon my word, got Prince Andrew, him stripped of his titles. And he's not the only one. New York Times did kind of a lukewarm piece on Leon Black, billionaire. Follow the money trail. Why did this guy give $170 million to Epstein? Leslie Wexner, still alive, billionaire. Why did he give Jeffrey Epstein a $70 million townhouse? The jewel the real estate in New York. Why did Peter Thiel want to meet with Epstein after he was convicted? Why did Elon Musk want to meet with him? Why did Steve Bannon want to meet with him? I think there's so many cookie crumbs there. Virginia Giuffre's book, I'm going to read it. I'll try to pick it up today, Vicky. But I think the reason why it's so important is because she's a survivor, because she went through so much, because she was the one who went through it from the age of 16, 17, and because she died so tragically, allegedly by suicide. I think all of it's coming to a head, Vicky. I could be wrong, but I feel like the dam is about to burst in some way, form, or another. And you've been following the story for 2 decades. At this stage of your investigation, at this stage of this story, do you feel like we're finally at some point of accountability? Like there's only so much that these cornered rats can maneuver. Like something is about to happen.
Well, at some point, Congress will reconvene. And Mike Johnson's going to have to swear the new representative in, and that is going to tip the balance somewhere. I do think that Senator Ron Wyden's investigations into the money trail are getting somewhere. It's very interesting. Watched last week as well. The lawyers for Jane Doe, one of the Epstein victims, are suing Bank of America now and Bank of New York Mellon, and they're very much using the work done by Ron Wyden and his team as a road map. So I don't think it's going to go.
I don't think it's going to go away either. We're going to get Vicky back. Thanks for the 2,000 people joining us. The deep state has tried to silence Vicky with her crappy internet, but Zev. It's all right. No, I said Zev, who I've on before, and Lev has always said, follow the money, follow the money, follow the money. And Deutsche Bank, folks, gave Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein an account on the same day. Totally normal. And what we've heard from people who've been investigating this is you follow the money. Not only does it link up to these powerful men, it also potentially links up to foreign countries who took interest in the type of information that Jeffrey Epstein had on people. Vicky, thanks so much for joining us. I got to run for an Uber, but I'll give you the final word. And then after the final word, I will shamelessly promote you.
My final word is read this book. I'm literally 60% of the way through Virginia's book, and given that we know how her life ends, I think the least we can do is read it. I mean, it's also important to remember, I think, she didn't plan to become the most famous Epstein victim. It kind of happened to her. But I urge everyone, read it.
And Virginia Giuffre, folks, so much courage. She was the first woman to name Prince Andrew. Think about that. Yeah. And she was the one who spent her life, literally the majority of her life, just traumatized. She died tragically earlier this year. To honor the survivors and the victims, by her book, and also to pressure these powerful men and to pressure for accountability, share her book because I'm telling you all, the one thing that Donald Trump cannot escape from is the Epstein files. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I've been saying it since the summer. This is his weakness. He cannot escape this. And not just him, but other people. And if you don't believe in the power of testimony and narrative and witness, Virginia Giuffre, even though she's passed away, the excerpts from her memoir that came out today were finally enough to strip Prince Andrew of his titles. Finally enough for Prince Andrew, the family, to say enough is enough. We've known about you for years. So the power of the story of this woman, reaching beyond the grave to bring down these men, I think it's very, very symbolic. It's bittersweet. It's very tragic. But at least her suffering and death aren't in vain. And I think, like we've said it before, but the metaphor I think is apt. Is the book and everything else we have so far are these cookie crumbs that if we just have some brave journalists and senators and reporters finally doing their job, like, what Vicky Ward was doing for 2 decades, I think it's inescapable. I think these people are stuck and they're going to have to answer for it. Vicky Ward joined us despite all these technical glitches, but we made it work. It was fine. More and more people stayed with us. No one dropped out. We have 2,000
Thank you.
people watching. We're going to have it up on my Substack and Vicky's Substack later today. Vicky has been investigating, following Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for 20 years. She has a best-selling book right behind her called The Idaho Four, an
Right.
American Tragedy, a really terrifying book about a homegrown radicalization, a murder, what young men are learning about women online and what it causes them to do. And then she also has Chasing Glenn, which is an audiobook. She was throughout the trial. She sat there with at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. And she also has a book on Luigi Mangione coming out when, Vicky?
Oh, not with James Patterson. That's not going to come out till 2027, but we're on it. And it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. Vicky, thanks so much for making time. Everyone else,
Thank you.
if you join late, don't worry. We're going to have it up later. No paywalls. Everything's free. I'm a terrible capitalist. If you have some money, go buy Vicky's book. If you have some more money, go buy Virginia Giuffre's book. Take a photo, share it. I'm telling you, they cannot escape Virginia. Lev Parnas told me yesterday, he's a former Trump insider, that the Trump administration is worried about the book. And he still has sources. And when his sources give me information and give him information, they're usually batting 1,000. So, honor the survivors and hold these powerful men accountable, but by buying the book and sharing what's in that book. And then, folks, if you have a few dollars left over, I don't know, become a paid subscriber. I have 800 kids and let me feed one of them. Be kind to each other, be informed, and please, oh, please don't be a fascist. Vicky, thank you so much for braving the terrible internets. I appreciate it. And of course, right when I said that, she freezes up. But I'm going to wait for her to unfreeze before I say goodbye to her. It'll happen. It's about every 8 seconds. There you go. You froze up right when I said you freezed up.
Okay.
Thank you, Vicky. Take care, everyone.
Bye.